Hi guys, today gonna be going through a new segment called Kazza's book Korner with a K.
Kazza?
And the first book I'm gonna talk about is Stop Thinking and Start Living. Here we are.
Wait, who's it by?
By Richard Carlson. Actually forgot the author, but
Shout
yeah.
out.
He's a counselling psychologist, and he gives advice on how to improve kind of relationships, but also kind of relationships with yourself. He kind of emphasizes the main point of this book. He kind of emphasizes is the notion of not being attached to your thoughts, so being quite far away from your thoughts and not trying to hold on to certain events. So if you're upset about something, it's usually the thought that has triggered that kind of emotion, and not just not the actual event itself. It's more of your reaction to it. So he goes through steps and different scenarios of maybe how to overcome this, and why this is prominent, and why people usually get depressed or have anxiety because of the emotional attachment to the thought and not being able to separate the thought from the emotion. So I think overall this book was pretty good in terms of that perspective of just showing me, and probably showing us if you do read this book, that try not to be as attached to your thoughts, and be more self-aware of kind of what you're thinking. And if you are upset, maybe try journaling or try keep a diary if you do have anxiety or depression. But it's not something that is easy to learn. It's pretty hard, and you have to keep consistent with it each day. And he is an acknowledged author from another book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, which is kind of the same principle. One negative, I don't think that you would probably discover lifelong happiness from just this one trick. I feel there's a combination of a variety of things that you'd probably need to do to achieve happiness, and I think that's more of a constant pursuit. So I just feel that's kind of misleading in a sense. So there are other factors that you need to do, maybe having a routine, doing activities, doing stuff that you look forward to during the week is something that can also help. But I feel like the basic, or the main message from this book is essentially to understand your thought process, but also find ways where you feel like that thought is not as important as how it makes me feel in terms of the emotion, and being able to distinguish both of them and seeing the event for actually what it is, rather than what you kind of want it to be from your an emotional perspective.
So Kazza, who would you recommend this book for? What type of people?
I probably recommend it to someone that's kind of already self-aware, in the sense that they feel like they do have negative thoughts and are quite pessimistic in terms of their personality. Also people that maybe do suffer from anxiety or depression. I'm not saying that this book will solve it, because I don't think it will, but I do feel it's a good first step on that journey of trying to maybe solve anxiety or depression, and kind of those sorts of kind of illnesses. But yeah, those sorts of people.
Kazza, have you already applied the message, or are you starting to apply the message into your everyday life?
This book I started reading about 4 months ago, and then because what I like to do, I kind of like reading different books in between. I don't like staying on one book depending on how good the book is. So I did start applying some of the early chapters, which is more about self-awareness and just taking those practical tips. And then I just started reading recently, because I came to the end of the book when I was first reading it. So the couple chapters left that I've started reading now, it's just really emphasizing the thinking behind of not trying to be so attached to your desires, to attachment, to these thoughts that you feel are going to give you these pleasurable feelings, but they're not going to do so in the long run. So not trying to be too attached to kind of materialistic desires, and understanding that external things won't fix your internal situation. So I think that's what I've been trying to apply more now, so in a sense of just kind of keeping a daily track of my thoughts, but also trying to also notice that if I'm not having a good day, or if I'm feeling a bad emotion, trying to look back and see if I'm really clinging on to the event, or is it really applicable in terms of like, am I actually feeling this emotion, and is it right to feel this emotion, or is it because I'm clinging on to the emotion and I kind of like that emotion that I'm feeling. So yeah.
What made you read this book?
I think I started reading this book because I felt like there were certain situations where you could easily get over, but then I was clinging on to. So I felt like I needed to work on that. So I saw this book by someone that does a podcast, and he does it on anxiety and like that sort of kind of field of psychology. And I study psychology, so this was just something kind of down my interest and down my kind of passion. So I just wanted to see what it was saying, because I also was kind of skeptical because of the title, just stop thinking and start living, but majority of our living is thinking. So it was quite intriguing in that sense of my skepticism. But after kind of reading the first few pages, I realized going back into my past in situations where I could have handled certain things of like anger or something like that, something better, then I realized like the guilt after you've exhibited like a kind of like bad behavior, you realize that the guilt is only because you're still attached to that event, and you knew that you did kind of something wrong that was not right within your kind of morals in a sense. So I feel like that's why I kind of started reading the book, was to like try and understand where I've gone wrong to help fix a better present or future.
So Kazza, what are your 3 favorite quotes from this book?
They're quite good, like I wouldn't say they're quotes, but I would say that they're kind of statements that kind of resonated with me. One of them was more kind of in the middle of the book, page 104. He stated that you must understand that life will always look serious and urgent and problematic when you're down. So for me, that resonated because when you are negative, you're always going to look for other negatives to support that certain negative, when that negative is just only one situation, if that makes sense. But you're always going to look for other situations to exaggerate the problem, so you can give yourself a big enough or strong enough excuse not to do something. So that's why I felt like that quote was pretty good. And one other quote was, a genuinely happy person knows that life is nothing more than a constant series of present moments to be experienced one right after another. I feel like that quote kind of realigns with what I want to eventually get into the mindset of being more present in the moment. So I feel like and not trying to not always think about the future and the goals that I have or the tasks that I want to complete, but also appreciate what I'm doing in the moment. So I feel like that quote resonated with me pretty well. And another quote was about forgiveness, and I think that's something that maybe I'm just assuming, but kind of a lot of people struggle with in terms of like holding grudges, etc. So forgiveness, he stated, was forgiveness stems from present moment thinking. When you forgive someone, including yourself, you are saying to yourself the past is over. So I feel like that kind of epitomizes and emphasizes the main point of this book of like not holding on to thoughts that are not feeding your present reality and not making it better for yourself. So I feel like that quote kind of summarized kind of what's something that I need to work on, and like forgetting about the past and moving on and this can be applied to anyone, whereas like if you're going through something like kind of depression or anxiety, I'm not saying that this quote or that kind of message will kind of solve it, but like it might kind of trigger a thought into your head. But also if you've got any like relationship problems, I think even friendship problems, or you've got a feud with someone at work, or there's a bit of lack of like chemistry with the teamwork around your place, or the colleagues that you're working with, I just feel like you shouldn't bring that into that environment again once it's already been done, because it's the cliche of like it's another day and you can start to do something better or positive to making a change towards it. And if it is still bothering you, and then you should address it and not try and hold on to it. So so thank you guys for tuning in, if you did until the end of this book, Stop Thinking, Start Living by Richard Carlson. Let me know what you guys think of the book, and if you consider reading it, and what your main kind of points or takeaways from the book is, and let me know if it kind of like helps you out in any way as well. So thank you guys.
Cheers.